or consideration of actions of citizen comments for items not on the agenda except to refer the matter to the village staff for administrative consideration or to schedule the matter for plan commission consideration at a later date. Is there anyone who'd like to make public comment on a non-agenda item? Scanning the audience, Connie, and you're the first person on my right, so
Okay.
I'm not picking. Anyone? Okay, so next, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a commission member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as the first item after approval of the consent agenda. And the only thing on there is the August 14th plan commission meeting minutes.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Give that Erie. I'm gonna give that to Mike. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. So next, chair report. I don't have anything. Gabe, staff and consultant reports. Ian. Aaron. Long. Okay, public hearing on ordinance 2024-12 and ordinance amending sections 615-71.1 requiring a conditional use permit to operate a beer garden in the village of Belleville. I will open the public hearing for the ordinance, assuming change. So I'll say I now open the public hearing on ordinance 2024-12 and ordinance amending sections 615. Is it 615 to 71 or is it 615?
I think it's 615-17
or 71.1, requiring a conditional use permit to operate a beer garden in the village of Belleville at 6:03 p.m.
The public hearing was published in the Post Messenger Recorder on August 29th, and I have included the affidavit of publishing as part of your agenda packet. It's also posted at Village Hall, Belleville Public Library, and on the Village Belleville website on Friday, September 6th.
So next, this is the time for the public to provide input on the aforementioned topic. After the public hearing closes, the Planning Commission will discuss and potentially take action. We will now take comments from the public. Please wait to be recognized and state your name for the record. Do we have any background as to?
So the background of this, I'll just explain it real quickly. Beer garden at the moment is run through our License Advisory Committee. It's a yearly renewal process where we have to approve. It requires like sending of certified letters and some noticing. It's quite a rigorous and costly process where they only pay $25 for it. But we have to renew it every year. So what we're doing here is moving it to a conditional use permit, putting it under zoning, Ian?
Yeah, zoning code.
Yeah, zoning code. So they only have to get it approved once, and as long as nothing changes with their beer garden in any way, then we don't have to worry about the renewal process every year. This is a separate issue as opposed to their liquor licenses, which would still need to be renewed every year. So it's not necessarily changing a liquor portion of it. It was just removing that responsibility of license advisory of the beer gardens and putting it here in Planning Commission work. That's the background.
What will a conditional use permit cost then if it's changed?
The fee's $250.
$250?
So it's a one-time fee unless they want to change something in the future, they can amend it.
Yeah, thank you.
Couple questions. So you're going from $25 to $250?
For every year to special.
And who's all going after this beer garden thing? So we have 3 beer gardens currently in the village, J&M's, Sugar River Lanes, and the Dam Bar. Also, Johnny O's has an application in, but obviously his beer garden isn't completed yet. So that's pending. So we're looking at 4. I know there are other establishments that are also interested in maybe having a beer garden here in the future. So it could be anywhere from up to 6 in the future, but at the moment it's 3, soon to be 4. So
Sorry.
Hop House.
I think that was
The
probably.
Hop House is looking into it, also combined with the llama. Is that
Going back to your garden?
it's complicated. I can talk about it to you, Connie, another time if you like.
Okay. Okay, so up to 6 so far.
Yeah. I mean, possibly. We only have seven establishments with Class B alcohol licenses right now in the village. So about half of them have beer gardens.
Recall the major changes that's kind of driving this is the fact that right now you have to send out certified letters every year to houses within,
Yeah.
100 feet.
It's 100 feet. All businesses or houses or properties within 100 feet of your beer garden every year at $9.46 a pop, plus staff time.
Which uses up the $25 fee charged.
Yeah, we definitely spend way more than that.
And so
And
now we get charged $250 and there's no renewals or anything to be done unless.
Well, I mean, you gotta inspect, but.
Yeah.
Is, I've never asked this question. Is Riverville in Belleville or Montrose?
It's in Belleville.
Belleville over there?
They have a Class B license with us.
Well, I know that, but it's weird because I know somebody that lives way in back and that's Montrose.
Yeah.
And across the cemetery, that's Montrose, right?
North of the cemetery.
Okay, all right. So no renewal.
So the alcohol license would have to be renewed
Yeah.
every year, but the beer garden, no, unless
Okay,
would not. That would still be inspected, but it would not be renewed.
okay,
That need renewal.
okay, thanks.
Is that a compliance with their conditional use permit, then they'd have to come back here and explain why, or if they want to change the conditional use permit to add space or whatever, then they'd have to come back here.
Great.
And the plan commission could basically pull it back if there was something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's under it would all be under plan commission purview instead of license.
It's the license advisory. Instead of being part of the liquor license application, it gets moved to a one-time. Plan commission approves it.
Okay.
It gets reviewed on an annual basis, but it's a one-time fee instead of sending out.
Okay.
It's really-
Kind of just sense anyway, because outdoor beer garden has more to do with following the performance standards and zoning code than it does have anything to do with.
So, sorry. So the beer garden, has that got anything to do with their downtown, what do you call that?
Festival district.
That's what the trigger the design standards.
Drinking on the streets.
That would be technically part of the festival, but a beer garden doesn't have necessarily, a beer garden for use in time that doesn't have anything to do with
Drink
that.
out front, or they have to drink out?
They have to drink in so a beer garden has requirements to it. It has to be, there has to be a fence around it. It has to be on their property. There are other requirements that I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's a designated area.
Yeah,
Right,
so
So
the alcohol.
so you can think of like J and M's, theirs is that fenced in area right adjacent to their building. For Johnny O's, I think it's gonna be in the back. They might even,
I think it's
the
actually
patio,
in the front.
the patio in the front too, but if they do back. it would
Yeah,
be
I was
back.
gonna
Like
say,
the dam bar is in the back in the fenced in area there. I think.
well, they have to get it for their back
Yeah.
there?
The bowling alley, I think, is their fenced in volleyball courts. Right on the
Okay.
side of their building.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, you used to be able to go out front.
Yeah, if they designate that as part of the area, that would also be included, but that would be the assessment.
Okay.
What's,
All right, thank you.
everybody's gonna get to hear me say, are there any other comments? Are there any other comments? Are there any other comments? Okay, I now close the public hearing at 6:10 PM. So next is to discuss and consider the ordinance 2024-12 beer garden ordinance.
I move to approve ordinance 2024-12.
Second. Discussion. I have a copy of the ordinance, it's linked here.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'm pretty.
You've actually seen it. I've had it linked.
Yeah,
to other things.
Yeah,
We're just doing it the right way. Third time's charm.
that's fine. Any discussion at all?
I'm not blaming you.
I think it makes sense. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. So next is an ordinance 2024-13, an ordinance 2024-13. Oh, it says twice.
Sorry.
I'm gonna read. Say classy San Diego. So sorry. It's bad reference. On a teleprompter, right?
Yep.
Modifying the duration of approvals for conditional use permits. So I now open the public hearing on ordinance 2024-13, an ordinance
Oh,
modifying the duration of approvals for conditional use permits at 6:12 PM.
I really need a proofreader.
That's right. Got one.
Yeah, but she was busy.
So it's your time to say that you.
Okay, sorry. The public hearing was published in the Business Recorder, 8/29, and I have included the affidavit of publication as part of the agenda packet. It was also posted at Village Hall, Belleville Public Library, and on the Village Belleville website on Friday, September 6th.
Okay, so this is the time for the public to provide input on the aforementioned topic. After the public hearing closes, the planning commission will discuss and potentially take action. We will now take comments from the public. Please wait to be recognized and state your name for the record. And I'm assuming, just to summarize this is literally similar, it's really.
This is about the conditional use permit. So when someone took or was approved for a conditional use permit, they had 24 months to take out a building permit to complete the work that the conditional use permit was about. We're just reducing that time from 24 to 12. This was recommended by Corey and Rick.
This is only in the situations where the conditional use is contingent upon the building permit or some other sort of permit.
Yeah.
Conditional use permits as a whole.
Any comments on that at all? Read it again. Any other comments? Are there any other comments? Are there any other comments? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:13 PM. And that gets us to discuss and consider ordinance 2024-13 conditional use permits ordinance.
I move we approve ordinance 2024-13.
Second. Thank you, kids, and on the draw. Keep a little patient next time, give him a chance. Okay, so we got a motion by Gary, seconded by Mike to approve the ordinance. Is there any discussion on this at all? It just shortens up the.
Yeah, we don't leave anything outstanding for a couple of years where it could get, we did have a situation where we had one sitting for 2 years, but they never put out the permit and it had expired, so.
Is there language in this, is there anything of grandfather that's been on, that's been?
To my knowledge, we don't have anything else currently outstanding that would be under consideration for this.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. So next, discuss and consider counter space site application. Kevin, do you want to take this?
That I can do. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
All right. My letter should be in there. In general, I am recommending approval of this, conditionally. When they submitted, basically what they did is they submitted a revised drawing which enlarged the building. Overall, the site stayed the same, but they did not provide updated like a grading plan, so it's more of just an architectural drawing. So they still did not address the grading plans and the comments that I had previously. That was, I believe it was approved by the Plan Commission previously, with the conditions that I had and if Corey had any as well. So I'm basically conditionally recommending that they are approved again, but they need to provide updated drawings that address some of the comments that we had regarding some of the grading and things. The only difference this change makes in the site is it does remove 3 of the parking spaces that are at the site right now. However, they've got, it eliminates 3 of the parking spaces. According to the ordinance for this, they should have 1 space for every 3 employees. There is 18 parking spaces there. I do not think that place has that many that would require. So I think it still meets the parking ordinance, but I don't know the exact number of people that they employ there. So that's really the only change. The building itself did not shift to the east. It shifted to the west. They're doing some kind of alteration where it kind of overlaps on top of their existing building some. So the reason it's in front of you is the building has changed and Corey had recommended that it comes back to Plan Commission, but like I said, they still need to update their site plans and grading and everything with it as well.
Thanks. Do we have any comments from Corey at all on this?
It's attached to the agenda.
That doesn't really help me, Gabe.
Is
Neener, it's attached to it. You can't see it, just.
I don't know if they confirm number of employees. No on-street parking is allowed. No additional signage was provided. Recommend approval of the site plan application. Contingent upon the applicant addressing and stated items.
I think the one comment that we talked about last time, which I believe they were going to address, was the fact that they were basically on their old site plan, they were just widening the driveway and it was shown to be about 100 feet wide. And, you know, ideally we don't want to see cars or anything parked in the right of way there. So they were going to show some truck movements and they were going to try to separate the trucks from the cars. So I think they were going to actually put in 2 driveways, if I recall the meeting correctly, but we haven't seen anything revised on that. But that was one comment, we just don't want a bunch of cars parked in the right of way, have it all paved through there.
Any questions for Kevin? Honey?
So this is the counter top place.
Space, yes.
They're just adding on.
It's adding on to the building. It sounds like it's heading on to the west as well.
Okay. Sorry.
That this way.
Yeah. Okay.
Toward this. Sorry. So it's over there, but it's being close by. Like
Right now.
you want to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve the, Very good, Richard.
Counter space site application.
Yeah, counter space site application contingent upon the items in the MSA letter dated August 20th, 24, and the GEC letter dated September 11th being taken care of.
I'll second that way. So motion by Gary. Second. Okay. Any further discussion at all? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. Okay. So next is discuss and provide recommendations on lot 7 and 38 conceptual designs.
So this is a project from Jim Folset. It is not going to any staff consideration. So this is mainly for you guys to get feedback. Staff is not. As we've looked at it, we have not provided any thought. You guys, I put it up on the map, Jim, if we can take a look.
I'd like to introduce, Olivia from Green County Development Corporation. And Jim Groman and Scott from Groman Associates out of Portage. They're the ones who does all the engineering. It's out there on the west side. But Olivia, you want to start out?
Yeah, so like Jim said, my name's Olivia. I know and have worked with about half of you
I'm the executive director of Greene County Development Corporation. We're a nonprofit located, obviously, in Greene County. Our role is to help promote growth across the county. And so even though Belleville, kind of straddles the line between Greene and Dane, we still consider you part of our territory. You're a big fish in a small pond for us, small fish in a big pond for Dane County. And so regularly with Gabe, the Economic Development Committee, and excited to be here too to hopefully kick off the discussion on this potential project as well.
Can you hear you? Okay. Well, Jim Grow, and I've got a plan here that I'd like to pass out. It's conceptual. It is our workforce development plan. And this would be located on lot 38, Baker's Woods. At the Flattown Highway, 92 and 69. Presently, it's a vacant lot. Dave, you've seen it. Yep. You're way out ahead of the game.
I'm prepared sometimes.
Great job. And again, what Jim is planning, as far as structures go, that represent these items that we have numbered. There's 34 total. And again, this is conceptual, and we haven't really refined a lot of the plan until we know whether or not we're heading in the right direction. We're looking for inputs. Is this something that the community is going to get their arms around? And particularly where these are small homes, I'm going to have Jim explain what the footprint might look like. The 3-story that we're planning, it's very, it's compact because again, we're trying to get a lot of workforce in the neighborhood and get it to an affordable price point. And I think that's the basis behind the plan that Jim has proposed. And Jim, maybe if you want to explain a little bit about the building.
The building that we're kind of locking into right now is going to be a 3-story building. It's going to kind of have a really modern look to it. A steel roof on the top, 3-story with balconies in front and back. You've heard garage. Our goal or our target market is a school teacher in town who right now, he's making $50,000 can't afford a $500,000 house. It's basically the price of most of the houses. And something that school teachers can afford in town, and also our biggest target market is the field in Epic. It's going to be a PUD, much like the 55 and older that we did. With the PUD is it kind of gives us a longitudinal latitude to do different things with the setbacks and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is the young people who work at Epic, probably not the 23, 24-year-old, or the 26 to 35-year-olds, they don't want to mow. They don't want to cut the grass. They don't want to do the snow removal. So our plan is $100 HOA fee. I'm making this live because that's what they want to do. They just don't turn out like their parents who, want to cut the grass and do stuff like that. And it gives them a logical, instead of paying the $2,000 for 1-bedroom rent and a grown-up or house is even more, gives them some equity stake at a reasonable price. And so, everybody's got some facts backing everything we're saying is we need some workforce housing available that, average people, I need a school teacher or students afford to move into, with or without families. Because all these are 3 bedrooms, roughly. Brooke, my wife, is the one who designs the home. They're roughly going to have between 1,500 to 1,600 square feet on 3 levels. No basement. Garage.
And so, one thing I'll just kind of add to that, like Jim said, part of the role we have at GCDC is we do a lot of, data analysis and studies. And so we recently conducted 2024 housing studies for the village of Belleville. Everything that Jim's talking about, like the density, the price point, all of that came from recommendations and the findings that we had in the housing study. And so I do have a few copies here that I will pass out, and you guys can keep these and look at them later. But basically it talks about just some of the recommended price points for these sorts of housing developments, how community feed most effective when it comes to recruiting workforce, which is so vital for everybody right now. And then hopefully, obviously, leads to greater result because you allow these people to build equity. This is starting point to that, and they end up, having families here, send their kids to school. And then there's, decades long of community engagement involvement.
So you're planning on these to be basically just small 3-story houses, each individual that can be purchased by market, and I guess what's that price point?
Sub 400, yeah, our goal is 350, but if we can keep the cost down, that's our goal. No more than 400,000.
It's based very similar to the 55 and over that lies just to the north. That Jim built, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So we're looking at a PUD, changing the zoning, to allow for this type of use.
No plans to have them be rentals?
No, not, we just soon sell everything. Also in there, because there's gonna be a dog park too, since, a lot of these, young professionals have pets and place to go to. So we also added a dog park in there. It's kind of a big deal these days. It's something Belleville currently doesn't have.
These are gonna be 2 deep garages then, right? Not too wide?
That's why they're 29 feet across. If you kind of look in the upper right hand corner there, it kind of gives you a little floor plan. Basically, just a footprint. Why not the 29?
Yeah, that's your first plan. Where it shows 2 cars parked side by side in the garage, the 2-car garage. And allows for a real decent flow between the units. Obviously, there's no cul-de-sacs that we have to worry about. It gives good turning radius over in the southwest corner. Where again, we've got snow removal to deal with and also provide for additional parking for the individuals that need to have an event going on. Question. So
Yeah, and that's kind of where I live in this neighborhood and a little bit of apprehension because I just counted them up. You've got 13 parking spaces above the 34 units that are here. People hire stuff, right? So they've got vehicles, they've got ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, boats, that sort of thing. And this isn't going to allow, I think you probably have space in front of them to park some of that stuff, but there's really nowhere else to put anything like that. So you start running into issues that's.
In the deed restrictions too, there'll be no parking. It's, you can't park your camper out front.
Right.
Obviously go somewhere else to pay. So it's gonna be somewhat restricted, but if you only got 2-car garage, I really started with 1-car garage, and we've got.
Looking through Baker's Woods, it's like people don't stick to our restrictions either though. So we've got boats and trailers and extra cars and that sort of stuff outside too, so.
And then the 55 and older, we were actually gonna, Scott and I were just talking about adding some more parking stalls. I think it's big. I can't remember off the top of my head here, how many parking stalls are in there? Must be 25.
And Bowen and
Yeah, between Bowen and Bonnie.
probably lost them on the north end because of how the homes were positioned. But I'm guessing we're probably in the range of, including the south side with by mailboxes, probably about an extra 20.
So, we're gonna add some parking in some of these areas too.
and again, this is our first draft. This is conceptual, so we're looking for that important input to make this right for the community.
One thing, these are 3 bedrooms, so you're looking 3 or 4 people in there and you could have 3 or 4 cars down the road. So that could be an issue. Again, you're talking these kind of as starter homes or starters, but,
And the customer will get to customize it because, some of the bedrooms are small, so they can go with a 2-bed, extra large master with huge. So there'll be some customization. For the most part, there'll be 3 bedrooms, just because. And this is more of a start, but it's more of a professional, whereas they don't have to. There's 1 bedroom's an office or husband and wife. It's a start.
The other concern I have, which we talked about at our last meeting, is you're talking about an age group that's probably going to be starting families. So you're going to be talking potentially about a lot of kids. And we already have a shortage of park space in that whole neighborhood, as you know. And you would add the additional park that would be northwest of there. I do have some concerns about. This is right next to the busiest road in town, basically. And we don't have any way to limit the speed on that because we don't own a property. It's not village property on the other side, so it's 55 miles an hour right in front of that stuff. There's some safety concerns there as well.
Good morning, first dialogue, we talked about it at the last meeting.
Yeah, that's gonna take some time. Yeah, yeah, agreed. Good.
Did Jim, how big are the lots?
It's a PUD, so the lot size, I mean, they're not really individual lots, they're individual lots, so basically a lot is actual for the house.
Even though with a piece of
Yeah, PUD is brand new development, but much like if you think about the lot size is basically the house footprint, the outside lot is only HOA, which is association.
It doesn't have a very big lot.
So it's just like,
It's just like the 55 what they appear to look better on paper. is-
So you better have a playground because you're not gonna have a yard fund.
But again, I would say that is a trend that we're seeing. Younger professionals are, starting homeowners. They don't like the half an acre, a quarter of an acre. So that is a difference in generation.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I think the issue is that we literally don't have a park to offer them that looks by like the nearest park would be two lots that we're in the process of purchasing now. That's about 4 blocks away. Unless, until, which is probably gonna be, again, I'll be optimistic, 1.5 years before we get the other park. I think it's probably gonna be closer to 2 years before we have the 1 acre park that's on the other end over by the well house. That's my guess.
And I know this hasn't gone on yet, so if you're entering off of Olson and that's the only ingress and egress to all those, that's right?
Yes.
I'm guessing the fire department's not gonna like that, but, I know it hasn't gone out to them yet, so.
I mean, I did talk to Brian too, and he just says, as long as they can access it. That's kind of the way we.
Well, again, I'll go back to even my days in EMS. That's a tight, how wide are those roads gonna be? I know they're PUD, but how wide are they gonna be?
It's 42 feet.
Okay. They're gonna have a hard time getting,
It's the same as the.
yeah, but that's kind of a straight shot off of the, right here, there's no big corners in the 55 right now. It kind of comes right in and, the grass court, this is the major corner right away, left or right when you come into here, so.
As well as any of the other corners to get around.
Yeah, they're all tight.
Get something over by the stormwater back that's gonna be concerning to get to. I'll also just like snow removal, where would you plow the snow to?
We'll probably have some, either hauling some of it away on site, or we'll probably some load zones down, probably to be good southwest corner, I'm guessing.
And then this would require rezoning too.
Correct.
Sorry,
How many houses?
35 units, I think. This, do you have a question?
Yeah, that's good, actually. In the current 55 and older, I remember some of that discussion, you needed to put in 2. That's only 27 there. You're proposing 34, 35 with the plan. I don't think that's going to work. There's much traffic in Olson already, without 34, 35 more houses coming in. That's my first question. The second is if this and when this dog park goes in, I assume it's gonna be fenced?
I think the big outstanding question is, are you even willing to rezone? Because if you're not, then this guy isn't, it's not worth having any more conversation. So I think that's what you need to tell.
Zone what now? Commercial?
I think in the past, and I think the last couple of conversations we've had about this, comfortable with commercial on the ground floor, but residential above. That's currently in line, I think, with a comprehensive plan, but with hiring and that adjustment today, so.
To that point, have you been up Main Street and Drummond? The buildings are all empty almost. Apartments and then the buildings, the businesses underneath. There's hardly anybody. I see them being empty in Belleville.
Sure.
And we talked to, I don't hear it here from the HOA director of the 55 and older, you know, I think the majority of the people in the 55 would rather see us as opposed to business.
Let's go back to the whole conversation we had with the last. We approved and, took one of the commercial lots and made it residential. Are we in favor of doing that again? I guess it's this lot. Because again, when these were all originally plotted, these are supposed to be commercial for a reason. Yeah.
I would say that one thing that was discussed there too, though, is that that phase had gone through you guys multiple times over the last few years. I wasn't here for it. But the entryway off of 69, the way that had to be set up, cut out the area that they were doing multifamily. And so that was more of an exception to the rule. At least that's what I got out of the conversation, was just to kind of make it still work for them, even though the road was messing up their multifamily.
So just to refresh everybody on the PDD rules, the private road, some narrower lots, more or less almost zero lot line houses, but it'd be an HOA again.
This would be a condominium.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no yard here to speak of it. I mean, that's again, whether it's my preference or not, there's a lot of asphalt in this diagram. And that's a lot of snow removal. It's a lot of cars. It's a lot of traffic potentially. I don't think 13 stalls is enough parking for, I mean, if half of the houses have one guest, that's 17 extra parking stalls, which means they're going to be parking on Olson, or they're going to be parking, elsewhere.
You guys are considering that we got a 2-car garage and we'll have parking in front of the 2-car garage, so.
Understand.
Each unit's gonna have 4 places.
At that price point, I just think you're going to be talking about people that are going to house. I mean, there's duplexes that are right across from me that have 2-car garages and they end up having 2 cars in their driveway already.
Mhm.
And because there's no basement here, 1,600 square feet goes up pretty quickly. You don't have a place to store much.
Yeah, I think we're kind of, getting more parking spots. I would agree with that.
Just a thought. So I had the same thought about the amount of asphalt. I mean, because it's a lot of asphalt. Instead of trying to find ways to reduce the asphalt, is there a way to expand the number of units, to change the design enough to put more green space in? You know what I mean? Because the more units you have, the better for you and the better the price for the housing. If the units were closer together, there'd be less of a need for more asphalt. You'd be able to condense everything a little more.
Usually you push a couple together.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
We could do that.
I mean, you can go to the extreme and say, okay, like you could have rows of brownstones. I don't know. I'm just saying the extreme. Or the other way you have it here, where you've got like individual driveways going up to everything, then individual driveways to parking spaces, then individual drives out. Yeah, I don't know. That makes sense.
How big is this lot, this entire lot?
5.5, Jim?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, thinking there needs to be some kind of community space. And I've seen reminds me of an apartment complex kind of, and I'm looking at the center here where you've got the future stormwater facilities, just kind of like that'd be some community area. I don't know what the requirements still are for stormwater handling that, where you could have someplace where people, if they have a small child, can go do something, at least get outside.
Or meet other people in the neighborhood or the community.
You know, community grills or something, because I don't know what the requirements are exactly, but you know, probably don't want grills on a balcony. And what is, do we have a limitation for fire for 3 stories?
3 stories.
I think it's a max.
It's sprinkler.
I'm learning a lot of, it's my first year in here, so.
Truck 3 stories is about as high you want to go 60 feet or so. But then if you have it sprinklered, that is very expensive, then you wouldn't be able to go over 60 feet.
I talked to Brian, the fire chief, and he was saying, what's the post we can go on ours? It was like, I'd say 10 feet on the road.
You know, we do have green space in the dog park. We've got a retention basin that we're reserving space, but we haven't got it designed yet, because again, we're looking at density. And again, if you said 34, 35 units, I think we could get our heads together on that, but maybe move some of them into triplexes or duplexes. We've got green space that sits in front, that we've got a highway setback line on Highway 69. You know, there's 50 feet of frontage in there that people can throw footballs. Okay, or walk their dog or whatever in that setback, which a lot of people do. So we've got that southwest corner, that's open green space, that's going to be a dog park and or retention. And we have also a little retention basin spread throughout, because again, we don't know how we're going to drain it yet until we know whether or not we have the proper zoning. If we have the proper zoning nod, whether or not we're going to get rezoned to the appropriate zoning district, okay. And then maybe have a benchmark number. Are we looking at 34, 85 units? Are we looking at 20 units? That's what Jim needs in order for him to put something formally together and address these points that you made.
You know, one thing too, and like a lot of the dog parks, you go to the dog parks, a lot of it, people congregate somewhere around there too, so there's maybe an area we could put something there. You know, we definitely do something like that to make it congenial, and we probably would run if we could, and I don't know how the sidewalk issue is, but it's obviously an issue. We'd like to maybe whoever take care of that.
As to the setback from the highway, I think that would have to get mowed
That's
for someone to even use it, and that's exactly.
even using
green
it,
space,
that's
so.
55 mile an hour zone out there. That's not the ideal place to anybody be playing football. That's not an accident on my conscience.
Do you think that'll get changed pretty soon?
Not until something happens across the street, because that's Montrose across the street. So it's not village property. So that's not going to get,
Full property?
it's school property. It might change in 5-10 years, but like until that's village property, I don't expect that speed limit will change.
Well, I know a long time ago too, before you guys mostly here, I know we think with the accesses that we've got Olson Avenue access and the other access that you give Petrie.
Right.
You know, and there were, at one time, the DOT talked about roundabout, we did traffic impact analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were saying once another, this is DOT talking, so you never know. It's just, people change once other access came in, they look at reducing.
Yeah, 35 would go up to the other access point, so that would.
That's what we're talking about.
Even with 30, I mean, you saw me last weekend crossing the street. We're just about to cross the street with the dogs. It's not even at 35, it's 55. It's people.
That doesn't mean they're going 35 either.
That's what I mean. Yeah, they're still going 50.
Yeah, these are.
So are there, and I know you don't have the individual units designed, but will there be a backyard at all to any of these, or is it just, or a patio deck or whatever on the house, or?
This is what it looks like. I don't have a full blown picture of it. That's what it looks like. In the 2-car garage. You can pass it in if you want.
That's the front, so do you have?
That's the front, the back's gonna be the same thing with the deck. There's the deck on the front, deck on the back.
Okay, on the second level though, the deck would be, or? I attribute there, I kind of said like row houses. Philadelphia is what I think. When I see space in between them, you know, for the green space, yeah.
You said 2-car garage, right? I thought that.
That's where we got.
You could put it.
Design committee, yeah. Oh, really? It's our own design committee, right?
Smart move.
So, I mean, they've got the look to them that looks, you know, sleek and modern. And that's the look we're going for. That's our target market is those people. Yeah, you know, those people have 1.2 kids, so the kids are obviously, I mean, you're gonna have a family with probably 3 kids. But, you know, the average right now is 1.2 kids.
3 bedrooms, you've got parents, office, kids. And then a bedroom becomes, office becomes a bedroom if you add more kids.
And this could become a stepping stone for that individuals as well. You know, they might be moving farther back into the subdivision or building a bigger house.
I mean, it's a way to get people equity, because right now paying $2,200 for a one bedroom room is insane. And that's what they're much for.
So I'm gonna wear my job hat. I always get a little leery when I see houses, especially with the last couple of years we've had around here with no basements and severe weather we get. Are you looking at a safe room building or something like that to put in here, or they kind of fend for themselves?
Yeah, that's something that has a cost on it. You know, I mean, no different than all the apartments in Madison.
I had to go out February 8th for a tornado that gets the hairs on the back of my neck sting. So, yeah, so.
I mean, there's a lot of apartments, like the goalkeeper apartments and that don't have those facilities. We're fortunate to have some basements around, but not some I can think about.
Because there's no basements in the current PUD either, right? In those houses,
Which ones?
they're under 55 and over.
Yes, one of the 26 that has no basement, all of them have
Oh,
basement,
they all have basements.
except for one.
Okay.
That was buyer's choice, not good. And in some of these, if the buyer wants a basement, it's possible to do a basement. Get the cost, but you know, if some of these are sold ahead of time, they want a basement, you know, they have 15 grand worth.
You do a basement, how are you doing parking? And the below ground level?
Yeah, we'd have
Is it a
to-
slope driveway?
Well, we'd have to figure that out too. Concrete.
So
These are, yeah, I mean, obviously, you're talking costs.
Yes.
Concrete such.
so just so
It's doable.
ballpark figures out how wide and how deep are those houses?
29.
29.
First floor is kitchen, living room, dining room with all breakfast bars. Created granite quartz. It's, you know, 2 or 3 bedrooms, depending how they set up.
And the first level is all garage then.
And mechanical.
And mechanical.
There was like a 10-foot section. So the garage, I think, is 20 feet wide, you know, which is another 9 foot from mechanical, which, that's probably be a little bit less than that. And nobody, I thought about the house or somebody that geez, I wish you go in the garage too big. I never really says that.
So I think the big question is, are we limited zone? And how much commercial space do we have in that area? And obviously, I think it's more valuable to developers for residential. I know you said last time we were here that 10 years, you could see the population potentially doubling. Do we have enough space then commercially to accommodate? So yeah, I think that's the question.
And Jim's other project does one that's on top. So that's the other.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, in order, because I'm more cognizant of what you guys want, so basically we're coming to you and saying, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at lot 38. You trade this load with lot 7. And the problem is, you finally hit the nail on the head. You put on growing up. You know, you got all kinds of businesses that are in these big apartment buildings, owner wants, you know, first floor retail, great, you know, but they're empty. You know, That's the problem. You know, there's a golf simulator in one of them, the first building there, and, you know, they've been there for 6 months and probably won't last another 6 months. But at the end of the day, the lot number 7, which is, I think, did you give them the plan for it?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, yeah,
So that's all that. So lot 7's got kind of what you guys are looking for. And with a different, look, I guess you could say.
so this is lot 7 concept.
Yeah. One, two.
What's the lake you got? Yes. So before you go on to this, so. Here's the rezone like that's. You need this.
PUD is not as easy to rezone. There's all kinds of hoops that have to be jumped through and everything like that, so.
Well, yeah, it's a comprehensive plan, like it's a process, so I think that's really before we move on to a whole different separately, you guys need to make.
Public comment section.
Yeah, if you have a question, comment, but just more of a statement, should I? Sure. Just anxious for over that area. Yes. Ideas as to what we'd like to do, perhaps enhance the appearance of our property. So the sooner that Jim can go forward with the projects he's interested in doing, we would be in favor of that. And the other group, I think, would prefer residential. That's opposed to.
To yourselves. To yourselves.
Ourselves, right.
My biggest concerns again is I'm concerned about park space. I'm concerned about, again, target market for this is going to be younger couples, younger individuals, younger families. And you're going to be talking about a lot of kids potentially and just nowhere to really go. That's not necessarily a deal.
When you say park, Jeff, I mean, we just said it's on park, but park, when you say park, everybody has a park. Everybody's got a different vision of what park is.
I think the space for kids can play. If you've spent any time out in that neighborhood, you see kids playing in the street, throwing footballs, baseballs, riding bikes, riding scooters, like down streets that traffic is actually quite busy on right now because they don't have, like, you can't get from that neighborhood to anywhere else in town right now. Sidewalk might help, all that sort of stuff, but none of that planning was done 5 or 10 years ago. So we're out on an island out there and exacerbating that problem with more kids, more people. I just have a hard time swallowing that pill just because that's on us. Knowing all the stuff that we know, at least knowing all the stuff that I know right now, it's hard for me to basically say, oh yeah, bring in 30 more kids and residents. If something happens, that's on me to basically, and I'm not anti-residential. What I'm concerned about is that it's the sequence of things, I suppose. It's sort of like, how do we make it safe? If I could snap my fingers and say, yep, we've got a route to school, we've got another route to get to downtown, we've got all that stuff figured out, like I'd probably be more amenable to it, but I don't see those pathways yet, right? And I've certainly thought about it. That's
We've got some challenges with, I mean, you get a route to school.
sure. Yeah.
You know, we just need a couple easements and people need to, you know, I get that, but, you know, we were, and I'm thinking these people who are living here are gonna have more pets than kids, but we have to cut our dog park, because
Yeah.
We cut that in half or maybe do an L in the right of way, that might give us a little.
I get it, but,
Oh my God.
but, you know, what you're talking about, even if you cut the dog park in half, that's about the size of my backyard. That's not enough. That's not enough space for 30 kids to play in. Get that, and again, but that's where my head goes to, is it's like, and I've got 3 dogs, so I totally get it. So it's not that, it's not the planning, it's the other issues that the village and this committee has to figure out. And I don't know that I can immediately get past it right now. That's where I'm at, but I'm just like, I'm still trying to process it, because like the route to school, that's gonna cost us a couple $1,000,000 pretty easily, I think. And we might be able to get grants, we might be able to do that, but that's probably still a couple of years off, even if everything lines up perfectly. So, but
I mean, at the end of the day, we could come up with something for that.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
if your kids, like, I could, you know, boys that do stuff in the pantry anyways.
Oh, great,
Yeah, at the
yeah.
end of the day, this is the private.
Correct.
Too, which you're not, I mean, hopefully other people come cruising on that.
Agreed, but I mean,
If
it's,
we could do our due diligence,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do something.
Yeah.
I have no problem. Yeah.
I lived right across from the school and we still play in the street, you know.
yeah, I know.
A few years ago, so.
I would say this,
Yeah.
the point is now that across the street from the school is a 55-mile-an-hour zone, and like, you're not gonna dodge that when you're playing stickball.
Right.
So,
If we're talking where our heads go, mine goes, kids 5 and younger would be probably the most common in here, and with all the asphalt, they're out there falling down and skinning knees always. So, I mean, can they have a place to fall down on the grass or something like that? I don't know.
So that's something. I think you could-
And I realize you haven't designed this yet, but I looked at the spot right in the middle of it where it's future water, or, you know, stormwater there. I mean, there's no sidewalks in this development at all, right?
There'll probably be one up front of the highway, depending on what you guys' plans.
Yeah, because I think, you know, if you could do, somehow have that area in the middle, again, it's not a very big area, but you know, some green space, you know, that you could do a neighborhood gathering in, you know, right now, because otherwise everything, would have to be on the street here, so.
And that would be something that we could talk to too.
Because unlike the 55 and over PUD, most of those, Mike and Cindy and those guys are not gonna go play in the street, so.
I've seen Mike and Cindy.
Well, so, yeah, but here, I mean, you're looking at a younger crowd, and yeah, the kids are an issue, and you know, it's easy to say they can get across the street and go play in the school lots over there, but getting there is taking your life in your own hands, so.
You know, looking at what's being offered as a market, you're gonna get young professionals, and the last thing they want is probably a child, because they're gonna be working and trying to develop their pot, you know, their savings. And eventually, when they start building a family, they probably would move out of here. That's my take on this. You're looking at young individuals that are, instead of wanting to rent something, that they could possibly use that same money and buy something. Like what Jim said, build equity. This is a stepping stone. This is a different type of housing unit. It's not like what sits to the north. Where you have yards and basements and room for family and all that other. These people are not gonna be here. They more than likely will sleep there, rest there, build their equity and work.
How big a yard do you get when you put a house, 61 by 118 lot? How big a yard do you get for that?
Depends on how big your house is.
29 by 29.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about his lots. I'm talking about 27 homes that are coming in and he's got to build rectangle because they're not gonna fit. So how big a yard are they gonna have?
I just have the setback.
I'd have to look at the floor plan to see what they're doing, how big the houses are. I mean, my yard isn't that, I'm like 100 by 70, I think, so it's not that much, and I've got a huge backyard, but I've got a decent sized backyard with a deck and
I think most of the lots are around 8,000 to 9,000 square feet less.
Something like
So the
that.
house is figuring 2,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
Something else you want. So you're talking probably,
That's probably your house. I'm talking about 61 by 118.
But 61 by 118, do the math quick, but that's that's almost 7,000 square feet.
7,200 square feet.
He said the lots are so small, he had to build rectangle houses.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's narrow.
if you, I mean, if you take out the buildable envelope of a lot, so, because we don't know the structure size, so the maximum possible structure that could go in a single family residential lot right now, it would be about 4,500 square feet of green space.
The trends right now, no matter where you're at, yeah, it's not unique to Belleville. It's unique to what our society is today. Lots are getting smaller. I just put a design together in another community and the lots are 50 feet wide. The square footage has dropped down to 1,200 square feet, possibly 1,000 with a 2-car garage.
I don't think that's a function of society as much as a bunch of function of cost.
Absolutely. And society is going to migrate.
I would love to have a backyard twice the size of the one that I have, but I couldn't afford it. Like, and nobody's offering. There's
But everybody's packing, they're packing tight, they're making small.
It is.
Some communities are revising their ordinances to allow for smaller footprints.
Well, and to what you said earlier as well, and all of this is backed in those housing studies also, where there is a market that is looking for these types of housing. They are young professionals who are single, maybe newly married, and so they probably are kicking off having kids because people are having kids later and later. When they do have kids, the kid will be a baby, and by the time they have multiple kids, the kid gets to the age where they're going outside and trying to cross the street and going to play. That's when this ideal person would be looking for more of that traditional single family. So it's a slightly different demographic than your traditional.
Oh, it is. I'm just like knowing the economics of all of it, though, it's, rising interest rate environment, that might be an option. Some might stay longer than they otherwise. And I'm not,
Yeah, and there's no way to guarantee.
there's a lot of variables here. So it's like, I'm not poo-pooing that to say like, that's not what's going to happen. But you never know. I guess like what I'm grappling with is it would be nice in my perfect world, it would be nice to do like kind of an amalgamation of two plans to be like, hey, we've got a little bit of commercial frontage and maybe like a bunch of smaller, like these types of houses, like road in the back to basically do that and maybe have like a small unit on the front that's got, 2 or 3 commercial spaces facing Olson. But that's a whole different, that's not what's in front of us. So.
People like to be more accustomed to living like that, Addison.
Right,
Or
right,
Milwaukee.
right.
We're talking about Belleville.
Sure.
We're talking about single family homes, guys.
Right.
And truly, there's people that would rather live in a single family home than a loft or a condo above a commercial business.
Sure.
They're cooking pizza all night long.
Sure.
That's what you got to think about. So this is more adaptive to Americana. Single family home, sure, you're getting a smaller footprint, but you're in your own home. Single family home.
I mean, I don't mind the concept, it's just in the commercial space. That's what we have to decide. Do we want to give away commercial space for residential?
Well, and I think this hit a neighborhood Facebook group and like, some of that is also like, there's not a lot of, currently there's not, and this isn't to dig at any of our local businesses. I want to be careful about that, but like, there isn't a lot of amenities in Belleville right now for someone who lives in this type of setup that doesn't have a yard, doesn't have, they're going to be, this is definitely bedroom community type, like
camping.
They're coming in and they're back out again, which means traffic through the neighborhood basically, but not a lot of, there's not a lot of staying power here relative to, I would expect there's going to be a lot of patrons of the both patrons of Carlos's establishment, because they're going to spend most of their time in Epic and they're going to be spending most of the time in Madison. They just can't afford to live in either of those markets.
I don't know if it's can't afford it. It's just they're reallocating money because as a 28-year-old kid, paying $2,200 a month. Growing,
Sure.
something that he's never gonna own.
No, I understand.
Yeah, you know, Carlos gets the spill off, Johnny also gets the spill off. Yeah, I mean, people are different, the young kids are different than you and I.
Sure.
And everybody's kids, they're just, sure, different, they don't value mowing them lawn. They don't value, I mean, at the 28-year-old, when they get to it, they might, but at the end of the day, this is a different concept.
Sure, right.
That we haven't done, correct?
I totally get that. My daughters are 24 and 31. You know, that kind of fit in that demographic. And my daughter recently had to move back in with me and she asked me, you actually have to mow the lawn every week? Yes, I do. But, you know, I also am concerned about, once again, just, I really feel there needs to be a community area because you've got, you know, actually it's 39 units down here. And if all those have people in it, they're going to get to know their neighbors because they're going to come out and life happens. You're going to have probably two people living there. And next thing you know, they got kids or more kids than they planned on and income's not coming in. So they're staying longer. So that's my take. I mean, I understand the whole demographics and, you know, the trends, but at the same time, you know, life doesn't always play out that way for everybody. So.
Well, now I gotta apologize for this plan because there are some numbering system that there's the draftman and draft person that put together the plan. And obviously I pulled off this morning the previous plan and not the refined one. And there are numbers here that don't make sense. It's out of sequence. So I have to apologize. It represents 34 units.
Not 39.
35. Not 39.
I was to say 4 is missing.
Yeah,
There's a theory.
it's 35. Yeah.
I can read it.
Yeah, it was-
My haste this morning, when I ran off those plans and, it might be, but there is only 35 units and there's not 39, but I think it will still, but if we can discuss the possibility of rezoning and getting down to a single family layout, a PUD, and with a number of units. And again, if we have a number of units that are allowed within that zoning, that rezoning, then we can come up with a plan and consider all these comments.
If we can take, I think it was Mike's comment or Jeff's comment too, maybe by creating some green space in here by, crunching a couple of those down, I have a problem with that. I want to keep the dog park because I think that's an amenity that those kids want. But we can come up with, you guys, push it down the road, we come up with some green space. Yes, it's just drawing some up right now, which looks pretty good. But we can find some green space in that.
I think,
I don't have a problem.
yeah,
Green space. Yeah. In the center, maybe a quarter. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you could throw a football in.
I think too, with that, going back to the discussion on, you want to set this aside for commercial or residential. One thing worth noting is people never move to communities because you have a Starbucks there, or you have, your scooters there. They move there if it's affordable and then if the community's safe and if it's within, driving distance of your work. And so those are the deciding factors when it comes to residential, and your town's not going to grow if you don't have, more residential units available. And so you wouldn't have to worry about commercial if you don't have the people.
It's just when they do move here, then
Yeah.
where to put that space that they would.
And I get that. I do. That's gone.
I know we threw numbers out. You were talking, paying $2,200 to rent a loft in Madison versus you're looking at probably what? $1,500 a month mortgage payment on.
Those new flexes that we have, Jeff, I think that, 21 from there, right?
21 fair.
But it's not talking rental, you're talking mortgage payment, Gary. Mortgage payment on 350, if interest rates at 6, you're probably talking over $2,000 pretty easy.
For 30 years.
What are you talking rental? I'm sorry.
He's talking purchase. You're probably talking 2,300 is my guess,
Okay,
at least.
let's see, I'm doing it right now.
And that I'm thinking with like renters or with
Insurance and
tax.
or taxes, yeah.
Average 2-bedroom rent is like $1,800.
Not rent, I'm talking.
I know, but $350,000 mortgage with taxes is.
You're talking,
That's what-
you're talking $2,200 at 6.5%.
Yeah.
30 years. So-
That's just principal and interest.
Yeah.
That's not taxes. Tax is gonna put another. Well,
300, 400 a month times.
yeah,
500, yeah, 600.
7, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I taxed for 300 a month, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't
and
that our goal?
It is our goal. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
It's out in the distance.
Yeah.
Well, and that's also
It's a
assuming
dream.
they got 20% down, because if you're not doing
Right.
that, you've got another homeowners, I'm sure you've got PMI and all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah, but some people that can't afford to get rid of their house and go to a new house. Or an apartment.
I understand.
I mean, at the end of the day, this PUD, if they're all $350,000, $12 million, so that's not. Eventually,
Yeah.
so it's gonna kick off some money and probably not hydrogen on the services. You're not mowing lawns, you're not sweeping the streets, you're not plowing the streets.
Parks is the big thing. That's.
And I understand that you guys are looking. I guess I'm just not comfortable saying, yeah, we go with the PUD because. I mean, we have a really simple conceptual design here. And I think you know what the issues are that we're all looking at here tonight. So, and I know you want to spend any more money on designing it than you probably already have, but, I don't know.
Do you have a unit number in mind that you might be, are you uncomfortable with 35?
I mean, like I said, if I wore my old hat years ago, I would be concerned that these are too close. Yeah. Like I said, if you got if one of these in the back corner catches on fire, you know, it's gonna be, there's no way they're gonna get enough apparatus back there to put that fire out, you know. And as close as they are, that's the other issue. One goes, you know, as close as they are, the other one could certainly go, you know, just as quickly. So, like I said, and then personally, I think you need to get rid of a couple of units and 3 or 4 units and, you know, maybe the green space, like I said, a courtyard got mentioned, you know, in that center spot. I see that would make a, you know, it's not a very big courtyard, but at least it's some green space. Maybe a patio, a big community or neighborhood patio there that they can, but right now, if you want to talk to your neighbors, you're going to have to do it in your driveway.
I think number one, that we gotta decide,
Yeah.
are we willing to resolve this?
That's kind of where I was gonna go, is to say, let's kind of go back to the beginning, is anybody, regardless of what the floor plans are, or regardless of how many units there are here, is there anybody, because again, I've got my apprehensions relative to park space and, you know, even if you cut it down to 20 units, and I don't even know what that would look like, and I don't even have to conceptually think about that. It's just more like, hey, we've got 20 small families that are in there. You've got 20 more kids, at least, maybe more than that, potentially. I've got some issues with that, but like, I'm not totally swearing off residential, but I don't know what others on the commission are feeling relative to that. Because again, I know we made exceptions last time, but like, I think the last time we talked, it was kind of like, yeah, we're not really planning on doing this anymore, but I don't want to speak for other members of the commission, so.
I get the argument both ways, but I am a little torn. We're getting rid of commercial frontage, prime real estate for commercial, and then what do we do in the future? I don't even know what we have left here. I'm trying to look over at the map. And we know I have this lot 7, but what do we have to the east of that?
So nothing more to the
Nothing
east.
east to the west.
There'd be one more, so past
to
the
the
other,
west.
so where there's the high density that we just approved.
Mhm.
There's one more commercial past that, and then I think it's commercial all the way to Quick Trip, basically. And then we've got more industrial commercial that would be over by the clinic and back in that area. It's not yet developed or even, I think it's platted, but I don't think we.
I mean, as a commercial and residential realtor, you know, you gotta have it's either the chicken or the eggs. You need rooftops before you get commercial, before you get commercial. You're not gonna get a Starbucks. I mean, Starbucks is reducing their floor plan. You know, Dunkin' Donuts, $1 million franchise fee. You do that. they're reducing their footprint. Walgreens is reducing their footprint. CVS is reducing their footprint. It's hard to get viable commercials in Belleville currently. You know, probably even if we're at 10,000 people, you know, Walgreens used to come in at 10,000 people and now they're, you know, 15 to 25,000 just because they can't get people to work there.
Yeah, I know it's hard. We're
Yeah.
trying to think of best use now, but best use in the future as well. So it's trying to juggle those and look at the pros and cons.
And the first thing to do is the traffic count on that road right now. These are old numbers. Was on PB is 822,000. It's probably more now. That's the first thing to look at. So they're not coming to 5,800. They're coming to 18,000. If it's a retail, you know, offices.
Well, when Quick Trip, and obviously they probably do as good a marketing study as anybody does. And, you know, they figured that the numbers were there and it's showing. I mean, they're busy out there all the time. So,
But I know what, you know, I mean, they know what the traffic.
right.
Jerry? What are your thoughts?
And envision myself if I was living in this way back years. Some sort of commercial that's within walking distance, if that's walking over to lot 7. You know, the place where you can get a sandwich or, you know, a coffee or drink. Yes, before bed. Or, you know, or take your kids for an ice cream type of thing.
The trip would be the closest. As it sits right now, because we don't have any other route to get out there. And that's different issue, it's a different issue, conversation.
Are you making Petrie put a sidewalk on 69?
That would be, we got to that point, yeah.
It would be nice thing. I mean, I would probably plan on not to say for sidewalk, but it would be right to do put that connecting two eventually someday.
Yeah, I mean, we aren't even developing any of that. I mean, the only property that's potentially being developed is the high density residential just to the west of here. And we haven't even seen a formal plan for that yet.
I guess you're talking apartment buildings.
It's like it's actually sort of, like from what I understand, they're kind of condos basically, but sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
27 units, but like 6 or 7, 6 units per building, I think, and there's one with 3,
With one car garages.
2 car garages underneath.
One car
stretch.
I'm not trying to, yeah. I mean, what Mike's saying to you is that's why we came with the concept of lot number 7 and 2, because you can rent. You're not gonna rent good stuff, so you can rent something. I mean, and I know the numbers because I don't know, you know, when they sell it, I know what somebody pays for rent. I know you know what the numbers are. You know, somebody, they're not getting them. I'm talking about really, but at the end of the day, you need something and that's why we're giving them lot 7. We can put something in that we can rent because we have to be able to rent.
Sure.
You know, what Mike's looking for is a rental situation. It might not be your Jimmy John's, but it will be something.
I'm just thinking,
Be cool if it was a Jimmy John's.
we need room for like 3 shops, 3 potential restaurants or something.
And
The small, like
you're talking like across the street.
across the street or
Right,
there. When
right.
it comes to,
Well, and that's
I
kind of
think
where
there still needs to be a little bit there somewhere, and it sounds like it's covered already in lot 7.
right.
And honestly, the one of the reasons why lot 7, because when we reached the space where John Yost was, we had people interested in that space, and it's 2 Mexican restaurants, Chinese restaurants,
Sure.
and barbecue place. Barbecue place.
So there could be potential renters for local.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not gonna be Taco Bell, but it's gonna be.
I would rather have a local.
Yeah,
Taco Bell, but-
that's why we came you a lot, so I know.
Same demographic will.
But if you make it through the whole.
Yeah.
No, and I, yeah, and I guess that's kind of where I was
where was my other comment, which I don't know how to really frame it up, but it's like, it's almost like I wish that we had a way to zone it so that it fit both things, right? So you could have the majority of this lot that you could do this type of building, and then maybe you only have one or two commercial
Full.
facades right there, but the rest of it was residential.
Well, there is mixed use PUD. I mean, the only problem with that would be that this doesn't meet the minimum acreage for, because it's 5 acres minimum for a mixed use PUD.
Okay.
It's like 4.2 or something. But that's a variance.
4.3.
Yeah. That would really be. That's possible if there's an appetite for it.
Because my thought would be to both that way, right? Is do more residential on 7 and more resident and do residential here, but then have like 1 or 2 little commercial facades that fit the bill. But it's something that's possible. So.
And then probably yes,
Right.
with the restaurants, and
Sure.
they're gonna want parking and they're gonna have employees.
Right.
There's some potential problem with that.
Well, that's
That's why we're pushing 7, where we can just control that with the.
building like he's got for lot 7 is honestly probably the best you're gonna get to be able to mix residential.
Right.
But there's a lot more options. You know, like I said, if there's an appetite for them, if there's an appetite to do a variance. to allow it. 38. Lot 7, I mean, if the size of the lot severely hampered its use. So you could either have it be pretty much one commercial lot and just have a commercial building, or you could have this where you are usually, it'd be pretty much the best use for the space, which is commercial.
Yeah, no, I'm following that.
And the apartment building with the residential on top and business and obviously it's an attractive looking building. It's not,
Right.
you guys, like the other one that's going up into the street apartment, but it's all vinyl siding and 2 stories tall, whatever. This has got a little more, something that we can build and rent out.
I think the other thing for us to consider is that also across from Piggly Wiggly, that's still commercial, right next to Piggly Wiggly is still commercial, so we do have that, plus there's
Commercial from basically the other side of the new entrance that we're gonna build in the Baker's Woods Phase 3 all the way out.
which most of that's again more commercial, I think of commercial industrial stuff there, but you could do commercial, you could put that there too.
And I think this lot 7 we're talking about before, so that is a nice concession.
Yeah, I could probably be sold on residential in this lot. I don't know what it is about this, but there's a lot of pavement and a lot of,
We're gonna come back to the little.
yeah, I think,
Address some of your concerns.
make more green space and figuring out,
And again, how to go with the use.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to the.
figuring out how to get the kids on the highway that direction.
Exactly. Less asphalt, more green space, and dense as hell. That be my input, but mine doesn't necessarily matter.
So I guess, again, I'm not sure what's gonna cost you to come up with this new, this new version, but so are you looking tonight? Because I'd like to see what that revised plan looks like before I'd say, yeah, I think we can go ahead and rezone this to.
Yeah, I don't think we're rezoning tonight.
No, we're not, but they want to know.
I want to know whether, I think the question is, if I'm paraphrasing it, is there an appetite to consider it?
Yeah.
Because I think what they're saying is if there's no appetite to even consider it, like, why spend the money to try to redo it? I think I'm not just paraphrasing.
Exactly. It's kind of what we talked again about, that's why we're here, saying this is what our plan is,
So maybe phrasing it this way to the commission is, are you, and I'm not, this isn't intended just for a judgment purposes. I'm just throwing it out there, but is there absolute opposition to doing this, right? Is to say, hey, absolutely no, we're not gonna rezone this to residential in any fashion, like, about the conversation here. Because if that's the case, then, and I don't know the majority of the committee or commission is that way, but that's.
So I think if there was some, there's two separate projects here. Like, I mean, you could just do the one and not even do the second project. So I think if there were some, if you plan on doing this with some commercial, I would be more agreeable to rezoning for something like this.
The truth be told, the department was $5 million. So the money that we're selling the other ones. And everything, so that's the fine.
Paraphrasing that another way is we don't want to say, yeah, we're going to convert that to residential. And then 3 years later, hey, we want to convert this to residential
Yeah,
because this is
Throughout those plans, yeah.
like that I think is where the sensitivity,
Yeah, no,
which I don't think is what you're doing.
Yeah, no,
So are you looking to do both these projects at the same time?
No, we're gonna do the lot 38 first. I mean, I'm not saying maybe lot 38 will be half completely first.
Yeah, because
That's going to finance the other one, basically.
Yeah, because there were comments, like I said, with the previous decision, the decision we made a month or so ago that, would we do this again? And there was conversation both ways, so I remember correctly on that. So, yeah, that would be my, if we agreed to this on lot 38, and I would say, as long as I'm on this planning commission, that lot 7 is gonna have to be some mixed use there, it's gonna have to be.
I don't disagree with that, Gary. I think I think I've got new information since then. I certainly we've got one of the heads of the PUD adjacent to this that's basically saying they're in favor of having more residential there. Certainly, I've seen feedback from individuals that are in my neighborhood that there's some pushback. Some don't even want commercial. They'd much rather have residential. So I think there's certainly an appetite for that. Again, I don't know that I've seen the detailed stuff that I'm talking about relative to kids and where you're gonna put them, but that's a second chapter conversation, not a first chapter conversation. Like, is there appetite in my mind?
Open to the rezoning. I just wish in an ideal world, both could be done simultaneously. Just to, guarantee that it plays out the way I think we're discussing.
Yeah.
But I realize that's not really possible, so.
About for the tip money, maybe it could be.
Anybody else have comments or concerns relative to that? Okay, is that enough guidance for you guys, or you want more?
It looks like you've given us a warm and fuzzy on the rezone.
That's about as warm as bodies are gonna get.
You're gonna get it.
I'm not like cheerleading it necessarily. I think there's an appetite for it, is the way I'm gathering from feedback that I'm getting. Is that-
Yeah, and I think I'm getting more comfortable giving Jim some ideas. Piece this together again and take another swing at this. It looks like.
And we have got a couple conditions we need to redo some of the plan. We can answer some.
Sure. And I don't want to did I misphrase that for anybody? Is anybody?
I say that's right.
I could think that's, yeah.
Hey, just to, Gabe, I think, because I know I found this reporting like on an EDC meeting or something like that. You should make sure that every board member gets it.
That's, it's a couple times been on agendas.
Yeah, but if you're not, like, I'm not on EDC, I just happened to find it because I went there and looked, but it was never on a village board agenda. And so I
Yeah.
think you should send this to everybody electronically, at least, so they can, I've read through it. I've heard most of it before, so.
Kind you had a question about that, but I don't even know if we're talking about that tonight, but did you have a question on that? I don't want.
It's got a comment. You don't want to build that out there?
It's welcome to Belleville. That's the translation for that.
No. It's hard. This just looks totally weird to be stuck out in
We've got a UFO days, and that's what you find weird?
I didn't come up with
You
it.
want to paint a wildcat on a water tower and you find that's logical.
You wanted to paint all the fire hydrants as aliens.
What's that big? We did. I did.
There's 6 of them. I want to know.
I would much rather do a vinyl sided building, but that's probably something you guys
Yeah.
want.
Huh?
I said, I'd much rather do a vinyl sided
No.
building. I'm sure Jeff would want to.
It's right in the bylaws. You can't use vinyl.
There.
Not out here either. I look. So anyhow, to me, this looks like it belongs over by the store. It's a business. Missed it all.
What is a commercial lot? Right,
Yeah.
that's
All those lots along the highway are commercial, so that's what you're gonna,
So
unless we convert them all to residential. Huh?
it's not really doing anything out there.
Well, there's a lot of factors involved in that.
Yeah.
That is.
What are all these?
Or not.
Existing. It's the, just the houses.
That's
The
it.
houses on Olsen Avenue behind.
Okay, they're not 50 and over looking houses.
No, it's just this showing their house.
that's my name. That's the house.
That's right here.
Jeff's house looks like any of those.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, I'm not tenting it for pets
Okay.
or anything.
right, okay. Well, you know, it's my comment about you guys are talking about why people are coming here. Well, I hate to tell you, you don't want to know why I came. Came here because I went to school here. I came here because it was quiet. There wasn't a lot of people. I knew everybody that was in town. I don't come here for all this exposure. But I can't leave because I can't afford it. But anyways, that's why I came here.
All right.
And, you know, another problem that we're having right now, Jeff, is you're involved with too, garbage pickup, military.
Yeah, I saw that post, wonderful post today, so.
And they're adamant that their numbers, the rules, are them.
Yeah.
You know, we may have the same problem. Out there.
Oh, somebody just got really upset on Facebook to me about it.
Yeah.
I told him to tell Pelletier.
Oh, were they? I think it's more just, I think,
Military picks up the garbage at the grocery store. And Subway dumpster at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We got a resident who's complaining about that, military's arguing it's a safety thing, we're not backing up with people off. We get in, we get out, and we, in our ordinances, decibel, and they're underneath the decibel ordinance.
Sure.
And this one person I know, who does stuff.
I think the stuff that,
Potential
I
problem.
think the stuff that blew up today was more,
Yeah, that's
it was residential, it wasn't bad, it was like, there was a bad besides. But they didn't get it done correctly, it went all over the place.
Potential problem.
Not big shit. So, yeah. It's the regular happiness that we get. Joy.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks, guys, we appreciate it.
You're talking about this other one then, or no?
Well,
Well, this
there's
is,
nothing require rezoning.
yeah, okay,
So
okay, so.
we can talk about it all.
No, okay.
All right, so that gets, next item on the agenda is I will accept a motion if someone would like to.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Go ahead. Mike, second. Jared. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:35 PM.
Thanks for coming.